Hello and welcome as we head into Monday, the 6th day of November 2017. Welcome. My name is Derek, and everything you do is within your own risk, own reward. This is a hashtag crypto trading video where Bitcoin, which had a beautiful setup talked about earlier today, obviously double red candle down, looking at a 400-minute time frame representing around 1/3 of a day, but it makes this blue area, this blue line, a 5-day moving average. Okay, what I have noticed in my experiences in trading in the past, or this is how I learned it from, anytime you have a very good setup that doesn't play through or doesn't pan through, fast move to the downside. And these two red candles down, that's not a fast move. It's only on this time frame managed to come back down to the 18 average of lows. The first time it's seen it since in here, or where it lifted off from at this point. So it's the best price correction it has had since it left 5,800. That's another way of putting it. And it isn't that much of a price correction. Just quickly looking at this chart, we can see an interesting band of resistance that came through at roughly around 5,800. And again at the psychological 6,000, but even up to about the 6,200 mark. So therefore, if there's going to be any type of trend reversal or big move lower, it seems that the first area where a level of support is going to come in is in this area. And that's, of course, if there's a failed move down, that's where I think it would go towards. If this 18 average holds, buyers come in at this point, and you see price action after a move like this have a break above the 18 average of highs as it's maintaining a nice uptrend, then you can be pretty confident that this setup is still in place. But if not, and we see that any type of a bear market movements, this thing starts to roll or go sideways. Maybe it goes lower and then starts to resist somewhere in this area. And then you would see it resist within a sideways, barely starting to decline 18 average. You see these patterns in here, then you can be pretty sure there's a good chance it's going to come down towards this level. Switching on to the daily chart, which has the 18 average of lows crossing around 63 to 64 and the 18 average of highs coming up near 68. This also shows the previous range as well, but a much bigger range is placed in the mid to high 4,000s up to about 5. And it was stated via the web bot, at least something that I heard through the grapevine as the best way to put it, is that a move like this was going to happen upwards, of course, to about 7,000, and that there would be a very sharp sell-off. What would be ideal for myself, and this is only for me, given that it's about the 5th day of November, is if it does manage to come here, but do so relatively quickly, but not too quickly. Not like within the day, but maybe within 3 or 4 days. Why that short of a time? Well, this stage just would allow some great profits in altcoin trading. It would also enable to buy back. I'm going to be talking about the 18 average of lows on the weekly time frame, but be able to buy back within that correction. But when we talk more on time and a SegWit coming in, it makes it a very interesting situation how you want to play for such, because the ideal thing is to have Bitcoins. And when you're in a situation when there is or there should be a price decline, then it makes it very difficult to actually want to hold them. Thus, I'm kind of forced to not only take okay, let's hedge my bet with this altcoin and that altcoin, and try to trade them for profit along the way. And I realize any kind of moves that bring this up or bring this down will bring all the other altcoins, or most of them anyway, towards the upside. We'll also fill all the sell orders that I placed in here, and then of course a few sell orders that were placed in here as well. Because in a situation where I think it comes down to that mark and it does it pre-SegWit period, then likely it would start to rise higher from this point, probably relatively quickly. It'd be, for me, a good time to sell alternate coins, get into Bitcoin. And I'm looking towards having a strategy if people are going to be selling altcoins off the last 2-3 days before the SegWit, to look to be a very aggressive buyer just before the SegWit. Because my theory is if I buy coins like Litecoin and Ethereum and Monero and whatever, you take your pick, they're pretty much all the same, that you got potential to get 20-30% gains within a few hours after the SegWit's over. And of course, 10-15-20% gains instantly, maybe, and some even higher. So I think there could be a lot of gains in there. I'm going to open myself up to have Bitcoin, but I'm not going to be all in Bitcoin most likely. But of course, the message of the market's going to change, and I want to see what happens at this big point. Because even though it's fell so far on the daily time frame, 2.77%, yay, that's really not that much. It's still correcting through time. And even a small pullback here or even down to here could just be that, a small pullback, and then we have that explosive period. And with the resistance, well, when I say if you don't get resistance at this area, I'm talking more of a long-term time frame. So if you get short-term resistance where all it does is come back to like 6-ish, 62, and then go higher, then that's not resistance long-term. That's only resistance short-term. And having resistance long-term means it's not going to hold this level of support. It's probably going to come down towards here. Let's take a look at this weekly chart. And it's a brand new week on this code now. 45.51 is the 18 average of lows right now. Mathematically speaking, if it were to come down this period, it would technically, it wouldn't go lower. So therefore, if there's going to be any similarity or the trend is going to remain the same, where it consistently does very well when finding support at the 18 average of lows, that's where the number's at, 4,500. And it does coincide big time within this level. So therefore, having an event like this happen on like a Wednesday, that meaning in this period, and having like a decent sized red candle, oh, sure, I'm fine with that. And I realize if something like that is to occur, that's, oh, it's coming back and testing an uptrend line that's already at a parabolic rate. Okay, let's see how this plays out. And that is the Bitcoin analysis. Let's take a look at a few altcoins. And I'm going to start off with Komodo. And there's not too many of them that have pretty decent looks, at least not having a bad one. A lot of these things are in downtrends, not only in downtrends, but even spots where you can't buy them because they just look to be going down even further. This one looks like it might be ready to break the trend. First off, the fact that it's been in this sideways range, and 28 has been massive support that is held and will remain as a key support mark until it just crushes one level or another. And because Bitcoin's been doing so well, for it just to manage to be at the same price against Bitcoin from this point here, which means it has shared the exact same gains Bitcoin has since the start of June. It's up about the exact same in 5 months. That's pretty good when you think of it in that perspective. Because the whole point of these altcoins, and my thinking from the start of this trading is, oh, beautiful. I'm trading altcoins against a code that is going to be super bullish. This is going to be fun. And I'd say this to myself with like a little twinkle, realizing, well, first, it's the only way you're going to be able to increase your Bitcoin number. And two, there's strategies against it, and maybe some of them are going to do pretty good, and you want to look for the good setups. As this one stands on its setup, step one within this downtrend to revert trend is for the band to flatten out, which occurred in here. Step two, establish resistance. Step three, come back to the band. It has been in such for about a week. And then the next one is to leave it. What's going to be really important for today's session is for it to really stay and hold above about 32,500. But if it can get above and stay above around 37.5, 38,000, then I think this thing could be ready and poised to have a decent sized move and breaking past this resistance. Don't be surprised to see a fast move come up to this previous handle, roughly around the 55 to 60 point of view. But there's an interesting look with this chart when we switch it over to the US dollar. So let me bring this one up. And what we have here, looking at this daily time frame, is in June a level of resistance at 2.5. As I stated, since this point of view, it is since June it has stayed with Bitcoin. It was a buck in here, now it's 2.5. But from this high, it came close to this high in here. It broke above it. Oftentimes from failed moves come fast moves to the downside. Well, maybe you can count this as a fast move, but it's been holding this well, and it's also broken this resistance, and it has stayed and held above this point very well. It's established this new level of resistance, which is really not established. It's a match of this point. So when I see a pattern like this, it really does tell me that this is poised to at least have a quick jump move to this previous high in and around $4. And getting above here, and I'm going to talk a lot about codes. If they can get above a key level, it's always like this. It's always a key all-time high. If it can get above it, you could probably expect to have a decent gain. It stated in here it was going to do so. That was a pretty big failed move. It should have had a fast move at least down to here. And the fact that it didn't is probably telling me that it isn't a failed one. It's just correcting, and it has been for a while, that move, and it's looking like that correction is over. So when these charts in the dollar roll over like this and have big up moves, if you look at the ramifications, here's a spot where it breaks resistance at about a little north of 55, closer to probably 60 cents, and then making it to close to 3. So that's a 5x gain. Bitcoin's not going to go 5 times in a move like that. If it does 2.5, holy crap. So it really doesn't matter what Bitcoin does. It's going to go up. So when you have situations where both altcoins and Bitcoins are rallying at the same time, it's because something like this is happening, and price action for the alternate coins is doing much better against the dollar, and getting above here looks like one of those examples. Because when we look at this further, it does show a lot of the ascending triangle formations. We have this one that broke to the downside. But wait a second here, it didn't roll over, because it usually should after that. But it has maintained another uptrend, so I do like how the look of this is coming through. And I wouldn't be surprised if this, and sometime in November even, has a very good breakout. And we'd see so in both this price chart and the one against Bitcoin. And now let's finish it off with NEO, N-E-O, formerly known as Ant Shares. Markets oftentimes come back to where they came from. Situation here, buying here, lots of opportunities to sell for profit. Even smaller profit if you want it in here. However, within this run, it set up big support here. You rally, come back to such. Couple small rallies, but here's where the failure for the levels coming into play. Short term, I would expect all rallies to be guilty until proven innocent that happen to come up to this 45 handle. And wouldn't be surprised if this continues to have a little leg further to the downside. Now, when I take a look at this chart, price against the US dollar, it's doing pretty good, and it should when we take a look at this. This hasn't retraced much from its summer highs. In fact, it's outperforming Bitcoin. Bitcoin has crushed the market from its March lows. It's went from 1,000 to 7,000. And this has still outperformed Bitcoin by a decent amount. So when I talk about how I think this could roll over and either go down now or come up here and go down, then I'm saying such because I think it's going to go up after that. So let me put this chart in with the US dollar cross. And we have a very, very, very interesting situation. Since here, the entire price has been staying entirely within the sideways yet barely declining 18 average. So it might be dependent on Bitcoin for that low that I talk about, for it to have higher prices, for it to see such. But I also think that if there is any move down close to this $14, $15 level, that it's probably got a good chance of bouncing from within. Now, break of resistance. And here it broke resistance at about, it's 26 bucks. Now it broke it at somewhere close to 20 cents. And then it gets past 60 cents. Breaking about the 60 cents mark, gets up to $1.70. It's almost triple in that one. This is better than triple. Breaking about $1.70, goes up to about 14. That's about 9 times higher. Congratulations, that's impressive. And even breaking this level of resistance at 14, about a 4x gain up to 60. So breaking 60, you got to think it's going to crush past the 200 number. At least I would. What I like to see with codes like this is for it to get above and hold and stay within this area. And if you see that for a while, then you could be pretty sure that there's a darn near good chance that this thing is poised to break out. Now, usually what would happen is you'd have some sort of move that would break out, and then within the day or several days, maybe come up and take a rally move up to 60. Maybe even a little bit, or even just to this 40 for that matter, could even work too. And then just maybe hold, stay, just grind. And then if you have a move up here to 60, then either it's just going to go crazy, maybe have a little bit of sideways action or come back to 40. But then when you see a price point, like around 80, that's really when you consider you want to go long on this code. 90, 100, because when you can get these breaks of resistance early, in here, you can usually get some good gains. Yeah, so this works out right in here. Every single time it has worked. And you want to have a clear break above the resistance level. Like in here. This didn't break it too clear. Although, had you bought, held, did nothing, meaning, it broke resistance here, and you bought right at the top. And then you seen it pull back down here. If you didn't sell, and you're like, oh man, I was hoping, because I thought this was going to go high. I bought it at $1.70. I wanted to sell at 10. I'm just going to hold. And then, it goes up, and then you sell at 10. And now you might be wishing you didn't. That's how wild this, of course, has been going higher. So then I will now end this video. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.